Well. I think we finally made it up on the bird, huh? Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I'm loving it.
You know, I think I'm not going to say everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong, but some things went wrong, and I would say probably mostly on my end. But we finally made it. We're live on YouTube Live, LDCC Global Entrepreneur Week 2022. I am Ryan Pierce, Division Chair, School of Business and Technology. And believe it or not, we have a true radio professional in the house, amongst other things. And the guest that you see, if you're looking at your computer screen to my right, is none other than Mr. Bryan Johnson, owner, operator, and I don't know what else we want to call him for KAIZ. What are the numbers?
Yeah, call letters KIEZ.
Okay.
That's right.
What part of the dial can we find you on?
Frequency is going to be 106.7.
106.7.
24 hours a day.
Look, see, can you hear it? Can you hear it in his voice? He's ready for prime time. He's been doing this for a long time. I'm just an amateur trying to be in his shoes. I'm trying to be where he's at right now.
Doing a good job.
So look, we really appreciate you being on the show. Today's show is actually entitled Tales of a Serial Entrepreneur. And we named it such because, you know, you have pretty much a self-professed, self-proclaimed entrepreneur, and you have had many entrepreneurial adventures or ventures in your day. But before we get started on all those wonderful things and, you know, kind of what brought you to that space, if you wouldn't mind, just give us a brief introduction of yourself and including maybe, you know, your ties to LDCC.
Sure, absolutely. No problem. Definitely want to thank you, Mr. Pierce, for inviting me and having me here. And as we mentioned earlier, there were some challenges. But, hey, I love challenges. I love change because I believe the only thing in life that ever stays the same is change. So we have to understand it and embrace it and move on from it because change will be around us forever to the day we die.
You are most gracious.
I love challenges. Because if it was easy, everyone would be able to do it. But you throw in a few of this, and that's what makes us unique because we can embrace it and overcome it. But, hey, family, I'm Bryan Johnson. I live right here in the town of Monroe, and I hail from Chicago, Illinois. I've been residing in Louisiana for over 20 years now. I've been on a pursuit of happiness. That's right, a pursuit of happiness, basically building an empire. Slowly but surely, brick by brick, building an empire. And what I mean by that is never easy. I am the master of change because things take place. We can create a plan, but believe me, there will be some challenges. We have to embrace challenges and know how to adapt and overcome the challenges. But I am an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur. And what that means is that I keep the bill collector off my back. That's right. I keep the bill collector off my back.
Time out.
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to keep the bill collectors off your back. And you're saying that the best way to do that is to be an entrepreneur, maybe have multiple businesses. I'm ready to keep hearing this. Explain, sir. I'm thinking that if I had a steady job, I might be able to keep the bill collectors off my back. But you're saying, no, dive in and be your own boss. Wow. I can't wait to get into more of this. Go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Sure. No problem at all. But pretty much what I mean when I say that is that keep the bill collectors off your back because I understand there's something called business debt and there's also something called personal debt. Mm-hmm. So either I really embrace business debt because the business should be able to pay for itself, and my personal adventures or personal debt, that's for me and my family. And I would try to limit my personal debt as far as the business because the business has to take care of me and my family, my community. But pretty much having being an employee, the only difference between an employer and an employee is that last between the E and the R, that last syllable at the end. That's it. It's not much difference. But the actual skill set, the learning, the challenges, I learned from being an employee. And I just made I had a product that I wanted to offer, product slash service I wanted to offer in my community. And I decided to do what all entrepreneurs do. We take a risk because there's no guarantees when you're self-employed. Trust me, there's zero guarantees when it comes to capitalization, business planning. There's just not any guarantees. But and I enjoy what I do. I mean, I get excited. So I'm glad to be here. I'm willing to answer any questions. We can dialogue about it. But hey, I love what I do.
Well, we appreciate you saying those wonderful words as an introduction. I love it. The only difference between employee and employer is the E and the R, right, boy?
That's right. That's it.
Already, right? Not even 5 minutes in it, we're getting nuggets of wisdom right here, and this is why we do what we do here at LDCC. We're trying to bring on the movers and shakers in every industry. And Mr. Johnson, again, we're so thankful. I know this is going to be just a fantastic time with you. I feel like I should be writing notes already. Now, okay. So again, not to go off of what we were doing or what we were talking about, because again, it's like you're ready to get started on the entrepreneurial piece. But tell us about you being a student at LDCC.
Oh, I forgot that, didn't I?
Real quick, just tell us that experience, and then go through your academics, because it's not like you just woke up one day and said, okay, I'm quitting school. I'm going to do the entrepreneur thing. You actually went quite a ways in school and as you were building your businesses. Tell us about that.
Sure. So my education pathway, it started back when I was in the military over 30 years ago. Actually took me 30 years to acquire my bachelor's degree. And I first started out in the military, acquiring my associates. Then after that, once I became stateside, I continued that pathway. But once I made it to Louisiana, I ended up coming to the community college. And matter of fact, I met you at a computer course, possibly 2011, 2012. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I owned a bar and grill. But
see, I didn't even know that about you at that time. I'm
right.
teaching you things, and you're just humble, pour into me, let me learn. But that never really came up in conversation about you owning a bar and grill. Wow. At that point in time, just boom, already getting after it.
And so I use the traditional college as a form of education, but more so as a form of continuing ed. I did not go along with the curriculum that was presented to me because I knew my weaknesses in life. I needed some accounting. I needed some bookkeeping, marketing. So I attended the local college, and I took those classes to enhance my skill set. And after probably 10 years or so, going part-time here, part-time there, then I decided, hey, in order for me to compete nationally, because of President Obama, that's what he said, we're no longer competing with our next door neighbor. We have to be able to compete globally, just like the headline says, the global weak entrepreneur. We have to be able to compete globally. How can I do it? I have to present my credentials, just like in business. I have to get an occupational license, get a professional license, and now if I want to compete globally, what else can I add to my resume? Because I wasn't used to actually writing a traditional resume. It was always for me, it was always about if I wanted to start something, I would plan it, I would think it, find out how to acquire the capital for it, and just do it. And as I mentioned about being an entrepreneur, it's about a lot of risk. And so with that, I continued through my education up until where I am today, acquired my master's, and from that point, and as of today, I'm working on my doctorates in theology.
Ooh, so your master's is in what?
In business management, and leadership.
There you go, right? All the way through, right?
Yes.
Owns business, master's in business through and through.
That's right.
That I appreciate you speaking to the education part. Of course, that's what we do here at LDCC is try to get you ready and for any potential business venture. But one of the things that we pride ourselves on is encouraging the entrepreneurial spirit. Now, this is the first time we've ever done an entrepreneurship week. And we hope that as you listen, as the viewing audience listens to these talks this week, that you get inspired, that you pick up some wisdom from those who have come before you and really take up the charge, because America runs on small businesses. If you think about it, there's a ton of big businesses out there, but they all started small. So your idea, no matter how small you think it is in comparison, it really means something, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Small business is big business. According to the SBA, Small Business Administration, small businesses comprise of 80% of businesses all over the nation. So we are big businesses together. And so anytime there's a major corporation in a community, it's funneled down to the small businesses that actually support that big corporation. So one big corporation is great for the community, but now it's going to take me, being a dry cleaner, grocery store, filling station, you name it, from services as far as, I'm trying to think, providing paper, ink pens, trash, cleaning, uniforms, laundry, Small businesses, we actually employ more individuals that's our next door neighbors than anyone else.
And if you
I love small business.
There you go. And if you have a storefront, you're going to probably need somebody to do the landscaping and mow the grass and whatnot. All those different things, you need people to come in, like you said, and clean and take care of all those things. And it could be any number of businesses, but likely they're going to be small businesses that are taking care of that.
Absolutely. We complement each other. That's right. Because, Mr. Pierce, if you have a hot dog stand in downtown L.A., I don't want to come next to you and sell hot dogs. I want to be able to sell you the buns or the ketchup or the mustard.
Be a supplier.
That's right. I want to complement what you're doing. I want you to be 150% successful. I want to be able to complement and supply you with all your supplies.
So as we're talking about that, I'm curious, how many businesses have you had since the title is Tales of a Serial Entrepreneur? Can you count on one hand? Is it two hands? Is it hands and feet? How many small business ventures have you been a part of?
So it's been a few, and they all have been successful. But I want to give people the theory of where I come up being a serial entrepreneur, because I'm in the financial services, and through the financial services, in the insurance and bonding industry. And so when I was working for a company, I worked for an insurance agency, and anytime I wanted to advertise, I would go to the next door neighbor and advertise. So I decided to put all these services in-house. And so some opportunities presented themselves, and as far as building my own media company, and so I had the ability to acquire a radio station, and of course right now podcasting, social media. So I end up doing all this in-house. And so I don't look at it as multiple businesses. I just look at it that we all complement each other. So instead of me outsourcing the services, I build a outlet within house, and I supply that industry or that business in-house.
Wow. Okay. I like how you say that, right? Do you have any help with any of these? I mean, you're doing all of them at the same time?
Oh, no,
juggling all that?
I can't take that credit. No.
Okay.
But I am the thought process of it, and I have the passion for it. Everything that I'm doing, it can be duplicatable, and that's the challenge. However, I believe what cannot be duplicatable is my passion, my drive, my energy, and that's why I keep it going. Now, I partner up with different individuals throughout the years, and sometimes they stay with me, sometimes they do not. However, my ultimate goal, I don't expect a person that I partner up with to be with me forever. It would be nice. However, I want to be able to breathe into them so they can go out and complement what I'm doing and create their own business, because that's what it's about.
See, and that's interesting, because a lot of times when we think, I have a great idea, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just take over the market, and it's all about me, and my business. And yet what you're saying is something that I've heard a couple of times recently. We don't have to be competitors necessarily. You're trying to breathe life into somebody else so that they can come into the space and everybody can complement each other. And actually we have Key Marketing Solutions is watching this broadcast right now. Probably Mr. Duran Talley is behind the keyboard, is who I'm thinking. And he is agreeing with you. He's saying small business is the backbone of the economy. And he says, yes, we have to be business collaborators and not competitors. And he goes on to say, together we can, together we can do something, but apparently
we can make it happen.
We can build this
ecosystem. And that's what it's about.
Yeah, we appreciate the viewership. And again, those that are tuning in, thank you so much for doing that. At any point in time, if you have a question for Mr. Johnson, please feel free to chime in. Together we can provide quality and affordable services to our community. That's what it says.
Absolutely. And that's that ecosystem. I agree with them.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm glad that you're watching and that you're a part of it. Great conversations already. Let me ask you this now. As you talk about all of the things that you've done in the entrepreneurial space, I mean, it stands to reason, or ask the question, did you choose entrepreneurship, or do you feel like small business ownership and entrepreneurship chose you?
It definitely chose me because of failure. And I look at the word fail as an acronym, FAIL. To me, fail means first attempt in learning. And so once I don't mind failing. My philosophy is I'm going to fail early and fail fast so I can acquire that knowledge so I know not to go down that path again. I'm like a scientist. outside of this interview, I won't really talk about the word fail. Scientists, they never fail. They have a new discovery. And that's the way I approach everything in life. I learn from it. It makes me better for the next go round. And through that, I become better and better and better. I love to network, love to meet people because I'm like Sam Walton. I don't have all the answers. Sam Walton gathered himself around the most intelligent individuals around, and he was just the founder of it. But the people built his business, and that's how I am. I'm in business because of the people.
If you are not inspired already, I'm ready. Like, let's go ahead and just take over the world right now. What small business are you and I going to make happen tomorrow or today for that matter, right after this call?
That's right.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so you kind of touched on this question already, but I have to ask, we hear about the mega corporations of the world. The big Twitter takeover recently, of course, is all in the news. But there's all sorts of big time corporations that we hear about all the time, record-breaking mergers, acquisitions, the stock market rallies and losses, and all that. From your viewpoint, where do small businesses fit into the economic landscape in the year 2022?
Sure, 2022 and looking forward, 2023. You definitely have to be a small business owner. You have to be involved in each and every aspect of your community, as far as legislature, as far as political aspect, also in the entry level of individuals at the schools, because I understand that the next generation is going to be, to me, individuals that attend college, they're going to be the future managers of corporations. And the actual entrepreneurs, these are the ones that went through school and decided, hey, maybe it's not for me, but I have an idea. And I'm willing to risk everything I have based on this idea. Most people are not successful at it. However, they go right back to the drawing board, and you never really find out exactly how they started until they hear their story or their book. But entrepreneurship, small businesses will be around forever because, as we mentioned, Twitter, I came from the new owner came from started off as a small business owner. Facebook. I mean, you name all these companies, major corporations. And I worked in corporate America. I was very successful at it. However, in corporate America, they had a desire to mimic small businesses because we can make decisions instantly. But in corporate America, there's so many different levels to making a decision. They are delayed over time from making a decision. But in small businesses, we learn from it instantly. So if I'm going to fail early and fail fast, acquire the lesson, acquire the skill set, and identify and know to go around that hurdle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, couldn't have said it better. You mentioned something about being nimble, and I would say that's so true. The smaller the business, the more nimble you can be. But you also said something about, you said you were reading up on some of the latest trends, and one of the things I like to ask those that come on the show, I don't always say that I'm going to ask it, but what are some of your favorite things to read, or are you reading a particular book or something right now that you would want to share with the viewing public?
So early in my venture, I would sit back and go to Books A Million each and every night, get me a cup of coffee with honey, and I would just rape and pillage the shelves in there. Get a book off the shelf and start reading. I would study men, study women, study their success, study their failures, from you name it, from Warren Buffett to hip hop. It doesn't matter because the skill sets are the same in order to be successful. And that's what I mentioned earlier. Success is duplicatable. You find someone that's successful, identify their skill set, how they implement it, and I can mimic and do the exact same thing. But yeah, I'm reading all the time.
And the highest form of flattery is imitation, right? And we hear that too. So
absolutely, that's right. It's not an insult. Don't get upset at it. I mean, you're doing a great job.
All right. So in your opinion, now for those that are thinking about diving in, for those that are thinking about being a part of this space, having this great adventure that is being a small business enterprise, what are the keys to success in owning and operating a small business?
Passion, self-awareness, and the driving factor of never give up. And you must admit that, hey, there's no guarantee in anything we do. As I spoke to you earlier on the phone, I said, okay, I'm on my way. There was no guarantee I was going to make it here, but I had faith and I had determination because I knew that what I had to put out here today wasn't for me. It was for individuals that where I was over 10 years ago. I needed a mentor. And my mentorship I went through is attending school, attending college. Most of my college professors, some of them were in the field. They understood business, and they were able to share with me. Well, I'll tell you, I can say this. When I first started my business, a business of mine, probably over 20 years ago, I just started it. I didn't even have, everything was in my mind. I didn't have anything wrote on paper or anything. Then I started finding out about the government. They had a opportunity for me to visit the SBA, and they would walk me through the entire process. It wouldn't cost me anything out of my pocket except for a commitment. And I was like, wow, this is actually available today. And so I partner with them now on a regular basis if I need consulting or anything, because that's what the government has set up, set them up for to help me become successful.
All right. Wow. What else? Is there anything else that you would think of that you can think of that would make someone, besides passion, and I guess you're referring to seeking out resources and help and mentorship. Is there anything else that you can think of that would tip the scales in someone's favor to be successful as an entrepreneur?
Sure. 80% of businesses that start, and I'm talking about all businesses, for-profit, not-for-profit, churches, 80% of small businesses fail in the first 2 years because of being undercapitalized. So if you can figure a way how to actually acquire the necessary capital that's needed, that's the number one. But that's the number one reason why most businesses fail, because many individuals have great ideas. However, at the time I first started my bar and grill years ago, I didn't pull a profit for the first 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
So I was working, I had a business partner, both of us. We were working inside the business itself, but we didn't pull a profit. And so we still had our side business on the side that we were working in that field, and also working 10 plus hours at the bar and grill.
And so that would probably make you want to quit. I mean, if you think about it, like 3
That's
or 4 years before,
have to have that passion.
Woo, and you stayed at it. I'm sorry I missed that good food back then. See, I'm upset. Any students out there, if I come across you and you own your own bar and grill or any restaurant, I would love to just try it. Don't be scared to tell somebody that you do something that would be interesting, because I love trying new things. So anyway, but that's no longer with us, right? That bar and grill is no longer with us.
Not the one that I own. No, it's not. No,
that's okay. Sometimes and that leads me. It's a great segue to the other question I had for you, which was, as we think about the inspiration and what it takes to be successful. Everyone likes a good hero story, one that pits the protagonist against seemingly insurmountable odds. Was there ever a time when you thought things weren't going to work out for your small business, any of your small business ventures? Was there ever a time when you thought you should turn your back on your aspirations and not be a small business person and go back to corporate America or something along those lines? You could have taken a more comfortable road and be a full-time employee for someone else. Was there a time that happened? And then tell us about that if you can, and then what made you stay with it? How did you overcome those odds and win, which is what it seems like you're doing right now?
Sure, no problem. I'm assuming you're talking about failure. And so pretty much I read a book by Michael Jordan years ago, and he indicated the reason he became so successful, so good on the court is because he missed more shots than he actually made in that basket. And so that taught me. Then I read books on some other millionaires. They indicated that they had been bankrupt 3 or 4 times before one of the businesses actually made it. And you're right. It's very difficult. It's very tough. But I had a passion. I'll give you a personal story for myself. Early on in my career, I ended up purchasing my own business location. But I lived in my business location for the first 7 to 8 years. So I lived in the back of the business, and in the front is when I actually actually conducted business up front. I had rent houses and all that at the time. However, I knew that before I acquired my own family, I had to ensure and make sure that my business became profitable. And so you had to have a passion. The average person is not in a place to do that. And I'm not gonna say I don't recommend it, but if you have a family, that's different. I sacrificed not having a family early on so I could do that. And so now I could be able to provide for my wife, my family without a problem. But early on, it's major sacrifices. And that's part of the business planning stage that every individual has to go through. But that's why I always mention you gotta have passion early on if you want to be an entrepreneur. Unless, now keep in mind, I'm the first generation of entrepreneurs in my family. Now, if you're the second generation, it's possibly it could be a lot better because you have a mentor. I didn't have a direct mentor. My mentors came through books, just observing from the outside of individuals being successful and attempting to figure it out. I didn't understand bookkeeping, so I used the college for that. I used the professors here at the colleges, ULM, to sit down, talk to them, whatever they presented on the test, and then I would go back, fact check it, and that's how I became better at what I do. And I'm still hungry today.
That's interesting that you say that, because not only did you learn what was taught to you, but then you fact checked it. Like, I'm not going to just take this verbatim. Let me go back and do my own research, right? So it almost is like you're reteaching yourself what you learned the day of or the day before. I mean, that's smart thing to do for sure.
Yeah, that's why early on, before I acquired my actual bachelor's degree, I possibly had over 70 some credit hours all over the place. I've acquired my pilot's license because that's what I want. I had a big vision that in my insurance industry, I was going to do business here in Monroe, also in New Orleans. So I was going to get a plane and just fly over for 1 week there, 1 week here. And I did all this local. But I acquired over 70 some credit hours without having a degree, and I wasn't interested in acquiring a degree. I wanted the knowledge. That's what I wanted. And I acquired the knowledge up until I had to become a lot more competitive with the degree. But these teachers definitely, and I'm not saying just go to school, but acquire knowledge. Knowledge is just infinite what you can do with that knowledge.
Which is more than just, right, like you say, more than just coming to school. There's ways you can teach yourself. There's practice. There's books. There's outside materials. The internet. Although you gotta be careful about it. Not everything is the truth on the internet. But, wow, I mean, like you said before, it all comes back seemingly to passion and keeping that flame lit and keeping that passion alive, because you need as much willpower as possible to power through some of these times that may be tough. You may be tired. You may not feel like going the extra step and reading in more detail what you learned in the classroom.
Absolutely.
You may not, you may want to, just relax one weekend and, watch the football game, and that's okay. And you need your downtime. But again, get right back at it once you've been recharged, and pick up another book and watch this YouTube video, or watch the Global Entrepreneurship Week series, whatever it's going to take to get you ready to keep building on what you've already learned. I mean, that's what you're articulating right here. And, we can't be more thankful than to hear those words come back. In other words, students, if you're watching students, and this isn't just for students, this is for community as well, but if you're watching students, it's not just your instructors that are telling you that you got to, power through, right? I mean, this is coming from a success story right here in Mr. Johnson, telling you, hey, keep going, keep moving, keep striving. Don't cheat yourself, right? Keep that motivation up for yourself, because you see something bigger for yourself. Keep moving towards that aim. So, Mr. Johnson, this has been fantastic. I have another question or two for you.
Sure.
And as I'm listening to you, we're going to go a little bit off topic just for a second.
No problem.
And I'm going to ask you, we're going to change it up just a little bit.
I love it.
Every now and then I ask just sort of an off-kilter question. And my question to you today, I'm just doing a little survey of all of our Entrepreneurship Week guests. When you put on your shoes, which one do you put on first, the right or the left? Now, there's no trick to this, right? Okay, before y'all get mad at me out there, right? I just noticed this morning. I noticed myself, and I said, actually the past couple of days, I was like, you know what? I think I tend to put on my left shoe first before I put my right shoe on. But then this morning I noticed I did it opposite, and I was like, I wonder if that has anything to do with like success or not. I know, crazy out there, right? I'm gonna
no.
Everybody looked that up afterwards, right? But I felt like I didn't look it up before this, but I just thought I'd ask that question. What do you think? Right or left? What works better for you?
Well, now that you asked me, I was thinking about it. But also, I have a master's degree in management and leadership with a concentration in psychology. I study
that's why I said it.
Human behavior, and that's a very great question. But I don't know which one I put on first, because it depends on which one is closer to me. because I'm putting my shoes on so I can get back to my office, because I hate going home at night because now I have to end my day. But then I like to wake up early in the morning, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, so I can hurry up, work out, hurry up, get to the office, because I'm trying to make the day better and smoother. Because in my mind, my motivation, as mentioned earlier, was the tenets to success, passion, and then I have to put discipline. The reason I mention discipline is because each and every one of us, we have 24 hours a day. But my passion, the way I think, is that out of that 24 hours, it's broken down into 3 segments: 8 hours for labor, 8 hours for recreation, and 8 hours for a rest. Now, if I want to work that day, 12 hours a day, I have to figure this out. Okay, I allocate for 8 hours for labor, but I need 4 more hours. Where can I get it from? And I allocate 8 hours for rest. So do I need to reduce my rest by 2 hours, or reduce my transition by 2 hours? But I know I only have 24 hours in that day. So it's mathematics. I have to be able to figure out, how can I work 12 hours a day, still get the proper nourishment, still get the proper rest, and also factor in transportation and all that. It's just mathematics.
Wow. So see, the answer to the question is whichever one is closest, right, as far as the shoes are concerned. But then in asking the question, we got so much more that maybe wouldn't have come out of it had I not asked the question. Talking about discipline, talking about, segmenting the time, your day into so many blocks, and making sure you get the appropriate rest, but also make sure you spend enough time working and recreation, and you can adjust that as needed. So all those things play into it. I think the final question really goes along the lines of, and I didn't even know you had a minor in psychology, but I mean, in human behavior, but it stands to reason because you just broke it all down for us. Final question, as we start to wrap up the interview, and again, thank you for everything. As you're talking, you've given us a lot of words of wisdom, but if we were to wrap it all up, what are some final words of wisdom you have for the listening audience on the topic of entrepreneurship?
Entrepreneurs, they are the backbone of our community. And because, number one, they risk their own capital, but they also receive so much back by providing for the community itself. So I definitely implore everyone, whether you're an employee or an employer, create something, because our community needs it. It doesn't matter whether you're successful or not. Even if you don't reach the pinnacles that you choose to, however, you will be successful because there's someone out there observing you. So now you become a role model, and that's the key. They may duplicate what you're doing. So we got to be careful what we do, but being an entrepreneur is the greatest moment, greatest feeling ever, because I love providing for myself, my family, and my community.
I don't think it could be said any better than that. We so much appreciate you for being on Global Entrepreneurship Week, our first guest of the week. Thank you so much. This is Mr. Bryan Johnson. And wow, thank you so much. We will join up with our next guest tomorrow at 2:30. So be ready, be on the lookout, notify yourself, check the subscribe button. Watch out for these events as they come throughout the week on YouTube live. But again, Mr. Bryan Johnson, representing KIEZ and all the entrepreneurs out there, we thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to more conversations with you and more inspiration from you in future interviews. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.